Hi guys, welcome to Chemo Glow, where the glow doesn't define me, I define the glow. Thank you for joining us tonight for our live event. Please check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please share, follow, and subscribe. Also check out our podcast where available. Chemo Glow is working on a couple of things this season. Now you guys know we're in season 2. And because we're in season 2, it's a big give back season for us. You guys have been giving to me, so I want to pour into you. And I also want to make sure that I volunteer my time as much as I can. So I'm going back to the American Cancer Society for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer event. Anybody who knows me knows that when I came out of treatment, I volunteered there as if I had a full-time job. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, if not more. Tracy Smith is back with the Making Strides event, and she called me last week right before our live and asked if I would come back and join her for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. So please make sure you join us, Chemo Glow, because my team is up, and I want to be a pace setter this year, like I was the last time that I was there. Because we have to have a cure for cancer. Not just breast cancer, but all cancers. So please join me with American Cancer Society for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. The walk is scheduled for October 16th. It might just be virtual, but we will still get our walk on. Next, Chemo Glow is joining Healing Pines Respite to talk about their auction. Healing Pines Respite gives respite to women 2 years out from their breast cancer diagnosis. So I think you have to be between those 2 years. And what they do is they give you respite at Umstead, a spa hotel. That's like a 5-star in North Carolina. It's in Cary. We have gone to Pinehurst, and I also volunteer my time and sit on their director's board for this organization. But check out their giveaway auction. I think there's 9 days left. So they have vacations. They're auctioning off vacations in Asheville, in the Outer Banks, just different places. Put a bid on it. Check it out. It is so worth it. All the proceeds will go to Healing Pines Respite. So donate your time, volunteer, go ahead and bid on that auction. The next thing I want to talk about, can you see? I have a little swag back here. I have my t-shirts. I have my tumblers. This is really, really, really nice. All right. Jamita Williams with Embellish has gifted us with the Chemo Glow mugs, the tumblers, the frosted glass. For every item we sell, my husband and I personally will match that for the Chemo Glow Making Strides Against Breast Cancer team. I am not playing when it comes to making strides this year. We need to make strides against all cancers, but this year I'm making strides with breast cancer. So please join us for our walk. Please order. Let us know. You can reach us at chemoglow@gmail.com. If you guys want to share your glow, or if you have something else that you want to share with us, just let us know. Now, I am so excited about our roundtable wrap-up with our guest from February. I think I'm going to call this episode Iron Sharpens Iron. Our guests, as you know, were all men. The first person that joined us was Reverend Dr. Anthony Berry. He actually guest starred in our upcoming podcast with his wife, Jill Berry. Trust His Plan. Her podcast is coming out this Saturday, and she will also be doing a live on Wednesday with us. So definitely check out her podcast coming out. I might drop it a little bit sooner because that's just what I do. Next, we'll have Michael Virgil. He's joining us. You guys remember him from podcast 12, Healing on the Other Side. He has a lot of views on episode 12. Guys, check him out. Check out that podcast. And I'm so happy to bring him back with us. Last but not least, my guy from podcast 13, Pastor Rick Barber. Before the battle, he has a lot going on, a lot to share. All of you guys said that you want to see more men on my panel. You asked, it's happening. Let's comment, let's share, let's iron sharpen iron. Please welcome all of my guests tonight. Hi, guys.
Hey, Regina.
Hello, hello.
How'd I do?
Pretty
Great.
good. Real good.
Pretty good.
You see what I could do with you guys behind me? I appreciate that.
Hey, Regina, not to cut you off, I didn't know you was part of ACS. I was co-chair at ACS on the event planning side,
Yeah.
2014, 2015. You remember that? Do you remember?
I'm not sure. My last one was 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and decided to have some babies.
Okay.
And then Tracy called me back and said, can you come back with the babies and put them in the pink car? And they said, absolutely not, because they're not in car seats. So I still was on that stage telling my story, letting people know what's going on.
Okay.
But American Cancer Society does so many great things, and they actually gave me my give back to me. I came in there walking on a cane, literally hair just growing back, but I needed something to do, and I was new to the area, so I was able to give back. And Tracy Smith is amazing, and she left and she started Real Men Wear Pink. She was working with American Cancer Society. She's still doing that, but she's back with Making Strides Against Breast Cancer.
Okay.
So when she calls, guess who shows up? I do.
Yeah.
Right? Anytime. Well, guys, goodness, we already have quite a few people on checking you guys out. Well, I want to welcome you back. I want to start with Dr. Berry. Like, how was it coming on to the show? And it was literally your wife was like, look, you need to do this show. And I appreciate she did. How was it? What was your experience and how was it afterwards?
It was a good experience. My first podcast, actually. And I got a lot of feedback from family members that tuned in, and they took screenshots and things of that nature. They were excited, and they were amazed at the quality of your production. And so congratulations to you on that.
Well, I thank you. And your wife is amazing. Audience, if you don't know, when he talked about those love letters in the morning time that he writes for her every morning, Jill texted me the next day and told me about your love letter. And thank you for mentioning me in it, because she is your biggest cheerleader. So I thank you so much for coming onto our show. And we're going to talk soon about some of the things that you are doing. I'm going to move over to Michael. How was it for you being on for this is your third time?
Yeah.
This your third time.
I'm a regular now. It's been good. It's been really great. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. I had a discussion with a friend of mine over the weekend. He asked me a couple of questions, and honestly, talking to him, he started crying right in front of me. But that's another story. Mm-hmm. But it's been really good. It's been really, really good. Really,
that's good. You have been sharing with me after the podcast and after the live some writings. You would send me writings, you would send me poetry, you would send me thoughts, and I really do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Everyone on this panel has done something for me, and I'm smiling so much because my day has been a day. But how can I have a bad day tonight? All right, a bad day tonight, right? All right. So, Pastor Rick Barber.
Yes, ma'am.
How was it for you?
You know what? This is, it's been really awakening for me, because I wasn't doing all this podcasting and all this kind of stuff. And especially since the pandemic, we had started doing some broadcasting live. And so you get kind of used to that. But this show right here has really allowed me to share, my experiences, and then to awaken some other things, So it's been really great, and one of the things that I thought was amazing was that just by the time that we were able to talk about it, it sparked some other stuff and so that's like, okay, so it reignited some things, and so yeah, I'm good.
Well, after our podcast, I actually called you right after, right?
That's right.
Oh my goodness, what does she say? It really speaks volumes to see the men speak up. Let me tell you about these men speaking up. The podcasts are very intimate, right? It's just me, you, my editing producer comes on, does a sound check, and then he's off. And in each podcast, to see each man on this panel right here shed a tear, and it was honest, and it was open, and you guys were not afraid. I love that. That did something for me because not a lot of people are doing that. And then for me to be able to call you or Dr. Barry, call your wife and talk about different things, it has helped me in this past month. And you actually was thinking about me and sent me this in the mail. It says, My Time with God, Regina's Chemo Glow Journey. Tell me a little bit about this, Mr.
Well,
Barber, Pastor.
that has that's something that has helped me over the years. I started doing that in '93. I got married in '93, and I started. It's just something that happened. It actually came out of the back of a daytimer. Y'all remember daytimers where you put all your appointments and all of that in there. So it was a page in the back of that, and I just started writing stuff. I was led to put some stuff down there of things that God had shared with me. So I just started writing down, and so the page actually evolved over the years, and it came to what it is now. And so what's been happening since our time, it has really sparked in me to share this with people who really want to know what God is saying to them, how to get in touch with God's voice inside, the Spirit of God inside of each and every one of us, and to document the things that people experience, whatever your experiences are, where you can turn back to those things years from now, months from now, whatever, and see what God has brought you through. Because many times we'll forget things. God has brought us through this, some finances, some emotional things, and jobs or whatever it may be, whatever it is that you're going through, and God brings you through it, and you forget about it because now you're on the other side. But then if you turn those pages back and you say, oh, well, God did bring me through this, and now it's documented, and you can say, I know that God will take me through this right here because He's already brought me here. So that's what your journey is about.
Oh, wow. Reverend Barry, what do you think about that?
I think that's awesome because as I've been in ministry over 30 years, and I think I've learned more with 2020, brought so much out of me as he was talking about the memories and things that you wrote down, and it let me know that I could make it. That was the same feeling I got, and I feel like a seasoned man in these years. When I look back over those memories, I realize those things have to be shared with the generation coming behind you. And I was thinking about this the other day. I didn't know my grandparents, but I could use them right now, because when you're a man and you feel like you're at the very front, you wish you yearn for someone to be ahead of you, that when you face challenges that you haven't faced before, that someone is ahead of you to share with you that you can make this, because I've gone through that. So it's important. Those memories are very, very important.
Yes. Our guests would
Absolutely.
like to thank you for speaking over the stigma. People are afraid to talk. Men are afraid to show their emotions. They actually love what you guys are saying. And Michael, you have been sitting in the audience on the other end,
Right.
sitting in the audience and commenting on our guests who are on right now. Tell
Right.
us your thoughts about that.
My thoughts are they're bringing to the table basically what I've been saying and thinking the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And to get it from a different perspective, brings it into more light. Again, there's not enough men involved, doing. I mean, I know there are a lot of married men out there, or fathers, or whatever it is, that should be more in tune to what we deal with. It's like I've said before, it's okay to cry. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to be mad. It's okay to do all those things. But you can't hold that, and think that you have it under control, because a lot of times you don't.
Yeah.
You may think you do, but in actuality, you don't. So, for me, listening to these two gentlemen, um, spark that fire even more in me, just to be more vocal about it, and just discuss it even more so. And I think that this forum that you have, this platform that you have, hopefully it will allow other men to be able to express, how they feel. So, men, it's okay. It's all right, fellas. It's okay.
It's all right.
It's
Let me tell you
okay.
about you guys and what you've done for our audience. Before we started the show, we were in backstage, and I was explaining to them that I have some gentlemen who wanted to be on this show right here, and I was like, not on this one. I get you on the 31st, but I appreciate it. But the fact that they sent me, it wasn't their wives, it was them, and both of them are caregivers to their wives. So I like the fact that they are wanting to tell their story, right? And one of the individuals at the very beginning, he took it hard and he needed that support. And he needed to hear from not just other men, but also from other women that were going through. So I'm so excited that you guys are again joining me on our live event tonight. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about is because we did get a lot of feedback about being veterans. Like,
Yes.
tell me, Dr. Barry, where did you serve again? And I know you wasn't in the army, or were you in the
I
army?
was in the army.
You were in the army. Oh, it's see.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
Go ahead and tell me. I
it's
look. I'm from Fayetteville, 82nd
Okay.
Airborne. You can't tell me nothing. My dad thought that we were doing PT. Like, get up, make them beds, and let's go. So I'm
right.
all the way with you at 82nd Airborne Army. Tell us a little bit about your experience in the Army, about being a vet, and about how that helped you
Well,
now.
God used the army for me to shape me in ministry. I was in the active duty for 22 years, and I got saved in the army, and I had no idea that was going to happen. So all of my experiences in the military, I walked with God while I was in the military. Like literally, that is how I made it. I'm only 5'5", and I think when I went to the doctor for my physical, I lost a quarter inch the other day. So, but I had to do all of those things that other men, twice my size with the same gear, and I always wonder how did God get me through that. And when I talk to young kids today, I said I don't advise you to just choose to go in the military unless it's not for everyone. And I
Mhm.
said I don't know how I made it, but it really impacted my ministry. I met Jill while I was in the military, and we went through a lot of things, illness, lost our loved ones while we were serving and had to make long trips home, but God kept us together. And one of the first church I pastored, I was still on active duty and completing the undergraduate degree and pastoring a church full time. So
Wow.
that's what it lent to me. That's the military service.
Oh, wow. Well, Pastor Barber, what about you?
Well, I wasn't in the army, that's for sure. I knew that the army wasn't for me. So I went into the Air Force. So I was in the Air Force, and I did that for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed my military service. The reason that I went into the military was because I wanted to travel. I wanted to leave Philadelphia. I wanted to travel. And so one of the biggest things that was, so important to me was just to get out of the city. And so 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I was gone. And so um, and I stayed gone, the first thing they ask you to do while you're signing in and get to your first installation, they ask you about your dream sheet. Where do you want to go? And so this was while I was in tech school, as a matter of fact. And so I put down there Hawaii, Germany, Washington State, California, any place to be away from Philadelphia. And they gave me Dover, Delaware. I don't understand how that happened.
Okay.
I was 86 miles from the house, and I'm saying, oh, man, what, and so anyway, that was the start of all of that. But unlike the doctor, I suggest to guys to go into the military if you're in a place that you don't know what do you want to do. You don't know what you want to do. And no harm against Army. I say you need to go in the Air Force because you don't do nothing.
See, Army, you are the backbone.
That's why I say I'm not hating on them. I really do appreciate them. Because every time they went into the field, we had the club to ourselves. So. But that was my military service. So I enjoyed it, Ben. I do suggest that people go in because they get training, they get paid, they get an opportunity to be away from home, to see if they like that. So they get to be on their own, but they get structure. They get some kind of structure, and it teaches them how to maneuver as men, and also to be able to take instruction. That's big.
That's so important. Well, Michael, you're currently working in a hospital setting.
Right.
During COVID.
Right.
You're on the front lines.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Wow. It's interesting. The last couple of weeks have really been interesting. All of a sudden, it's like there's been a surge where everyone wants to be tested. It's in the beginning, it was a little frustrating because people weren't exercising the precautions. They weren't doing what they needed to do. We've actually had a couple of patients come in who actually had COVID. We didn't find out till after the fact. So it was just a lot to do. Sanitizing, people not being able to come to work. I've had a couple of coworkers who've had it. We had a lady who just came back not too long ago. She's been out 2 months, but you can still see she has some semblance left of it. People, to me, and a lot of us here, are not really taking it as serious as they should. And it's serious. It's really serious. It's just amazing to me that the information is there. You're telling people everything that they need to do and what they should and should not do, but they're not adhering to that. So everyone is just doing what they want to do and basically being oblivious to the fact of what's going on. And so then when it hits them or one of their family members, now everyone is all up in arms and, oh, I need to get tested. Well, here's the thing that people need to understand. If you have been around someone and you feel that you've contacted, right, you have to quarantine first. Okay, once you get your test, you need to quarantine after that until your results come back. What a lot of people are doing is getting the test and then they're going right back out into the general population. Okay, we had a guy here last week, as a matter of fact, who tested positive, but he was at work. Okay, and he gave it to his fiance. And he didn't tell anyone he was at his job that he had it. So when he went back to work, he had to tell the staff. And so we don't know what happened to that. But I'm pretty sure everybody had to quarantine. So
or should have quarantined.
And the stress level, the stress level is just unbelievable. I mean, everybody here is pretty much worn out at this point,
Yeah.
because it's just so much. I mean, I could sit here and talk about it all day, and then I'll kind of get depressed. So I don't want to
Talk
do
about it.
it.
But
I
I,
don't
I
want to do that.
appreciate you being on the front lines
You're
during this
welcome.
pandemic.
All right.
It is very hard. How many of y'all have had your COVID test or are thinking about it?
Well, no, check this out. Check it out. Okay.
I'm not even
my,
going to
my,
hold it
my
against you.
uncle my uncle came down here from Philadelphia, okay,
Uh-huh.
and he stayed for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So he lives with his sister, my mother-in-law. He lives
Mm-hmm.
with his sister, and she is 80. I think mom is 80, 85. I think she's 85,
Mm-hmm.
and so of course she's nervous about the whole COVID thing, and
Mm-hmm.
so she said, "Don't telling Uncle Barry." Said, "Don't come back, don't come back in without being tested." So we get he's about ready to leave now. So we get in the car, we go over to the VA hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and so we drive, and nobody was really there. It was just we drove right up, and
Oh
so
wow.
it was outside, and so the nurse started asking us questions. He said, "Well, have you been around anybody that's been exposed? Have you had a fever? Have you blah 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 blah?" And so both of us said no. To all the questions. She said, "Get out of here! Why are you wasting my time? Y'all shouldn't be here to because you haven't been exposed. You haven't been around anybody." So they didn't want to waste the time. So to answer your question, yeah, we were going to get tested, but they said no.
You
I've
know,
never heard anything
well,
like that. Really?
in all honesty, what happens with us, if you think that you have, when you come, you can't come in the building. You have to call us first.
Yeah.
Okay, you call us from the car. And that same barrage questions that they asked, we're going to ask you.
Right.
Have you
Mm-hmm.
been around people, been exposed? Have you been out of the country? That whole spiel, and you still don't come in the building because what we have a tent set up outside.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's,
you
yeah,
go into the
that's
tent,
exactly right.
and then that's when you go through that. So yeah, I get it. I get it. It's like if you don't feel my word sketchy, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
feel sketchy, if you don't have a fever, if you don't have any of those things, you don't need to go get tested. But however, if you do start feeling sketchy, then yeah, you might want to do
Then
that.
go right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So
Exactly.
definitely, yeah. But if you don't feel sketchy, it's like he said, don't waste my time.
Because that's what she said. That's exactly
So
what she said.
well, I love her
Don't
customer
waste my
service.
time.
Yeah, you're wasting my time. I got other people that I can see. You telling me you
Right.
haven't been exposed. What do you want from me now?
well,
Hey, I'm
well,
out. I'm
doc.
out here got to deal with all of this stuff.
Right.
Well, Dr. Barry, you actually work in the school system, right?
yes.
Yes. So how is that going for you with COVID?
Well, I believe some people are. We've got students in the building now. It's
Mm-hmm.
very cold in the building. The teachers have every window open. We have everyone believes we need to blow it out of the classroom. So I have a space heater under my desk while the other instructor is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes have that on because he just would prefer it to be ice cold,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a little difficult to get your mind around being in there with the students because I'm in high school, and to have high schoolers social distance is a challenge because they haven't seen each
Yeah.
other, and so as soon as they
Mm-hmm.
get a little free time,
Yeah.
I'm the type to say, hey, spread out, and then there might be others that just you know let them walk together. If they've got a mask on, that should be good. It's maybe they're thinking it's Walmart, but I think more kids are going to want to come back that
Yeah.
opted out not to
Mm-hmm.
come to return. I think the numbers may get a little denser inside of this school. So I think North Carolina has a good approach to it. I feel safe. We check temperatures when they get off the bus. The teachers, we have to get our temperature checked, log in with a on your phone, and then post it to the internet that you have entered the building and you've answered those questions. And somebody monitors your phone when it has to have the green thumbs up before you
Oh
go in
wow.
and check in for the day. So they want to get it to the place where if there was need of contact tracing, who is in the building today. So it's
Hmm.
kind of on us to it's a good system. And we were
Mm-hmm.
very confused when they were giving us all this information, all these Zoom classes. This is how it's going to go, and we really had a lot of input into that plan. They asked a lot of questions. They wanted to make sure they didn't miss anything, and so I feel very good about what we're doing.
Oh, you're making me feel better. My girls, I just enrolled them into school, and I'm like, do I want them to go? I'm not sure. But we've been doing tutoring sessions at home just so they can stay in the mix of learning, and they're going to kindergarten, and I'm worried at kindergarten whether or not they're missing out. So I know other parents need a breather. I've been home since March 16th of
Yes.
last year.
Mm, mm,
Yeah. Yes.
mm,
God be the glory.
Yes.
And I mean that. It
Yes.
has been something else being at home. Well, guys, I want to talk about what brought you to my podcast, what brought you to my show. And unfortunately, it was cancer. So, Dr. Barry, you have really touched me as being a caregiver to my friend Jill. And all this time, she's always talked about you. And I've never met you, but I knew who you were and what type of man you were and what kind of kids you raised through her talks with me. So, being on the podcast and doing the live, you really touched a lot of people, a lot of men who said that they were going through with their wives and needed to know how to let go. And I'm excited that hopefully you'll be back on again. But just tell us a little bit about what you're doing to continue to support your wife. Because she is so active. I read her bio last night.
Yes, she is active. I think sometimes she forgets how active she is. I when cancer set in, I I didn't really have a plan. I started cutting up fruit for her every morning because I'm still out the door before her, and I still do things like that for her and hope that she eats something healthy during the day. That's something I felt I could do, and I would hope that she would eat it. And I would look at her little Tupperware to see if she consumed the good stuff during the day. She, did she binge somewhere else on some sweets or some bakery food or something like that? But she's been pretty good at it. And that started when we first got married. When I met Jill, I thought she was a slender woman. So I was like, I've got to feed you. I got to keep Gatorading you. You know, we were both in the Saudi Arabian desert. I was like, girl, you got to drink Gatorade. You got to stay, you know, you'll pass out here. So that started then taking care of her. And she reciprocates that to me also. But that's a big part of it. You know, when you're a caregiver, I monitor her because she's so busy. I can tell when her voice is changing, that she's
Mm-hmm.
tired, that she's probably been speaking to too many people today, or she isn't monitoring her own rest. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, you know, I'll say, hey honey, just put your feet up, you know, relax, and you know, and I just monitor her without nagging her, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of the vitals and things of that. Have you drink water, you know, and she does the same for me. So that's once she regained her strength. There, when she first got diagnosed, I was just getting out of the military, as you remember our story,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up I had high blood pressure and didn't know it, and so I took the students to the swimming pool, Emerald Point, and I wasn't feeling good that day at Emerald Point. And but I didn't tell anyone. I went to church that Sunday, and I still wasn't feeling any good at all. And I ended up, long story short, in the hospital. And Jill was going through chemo, had lost her hair, and I'm in the hospital. The pastor is visiting me, and Jill is in the bed praying for me with her 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 uh, her hair covering on,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, look at this. I'm supposed to be the pastor. I'm sick. My wife's laying on me in the bed at the hospital praying for me, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would see that, So
Wow.
yeah, caregiving is a very important part of
Hmm.
keeping yourself together, and really you think about, you want to be here for your kids as long as you can. And so it's very important to take care of yourselves and look out for each other.
And with going through cancer, James and Tasha Dawkins asked the question: are there any churches giving counseling for children in reference to being isolated? When you go through cancer, your kids are sometimes isolated because you're caring for your wife, you're caring for, your congregation. Do you guys know of any churches that are actually giving counseling to kids during this time?
I do not.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
That's a
Wow.
that's a that's a good
So,
That's a good
question.
Well,
question. That's
iron
it is.
very good.
sharpens iron up here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next
that's a
time I
very good
talk to
question.
you, that's a good
You know,
question because we don't think about the isolation part of it.
Right.
yeah,
So
we're
we're,
still faced with adults that need counseling.
mm-hmm,
I mean, during this time right here, not only during COVID, but during the doing recovery from cancer treatments,
mm-hmm,
and all of those. I mean, because many times you are, the person feels like they're by themselves. They could have a house full of people, but nobody understands.
yeah,
You know,
Absolutely.
they just telling you, okay, only thing you need to do is this. You just need to do this. You need to eat. You need to do this. And then the next thing you know, it's like, man, I hear you, but
I
hey,
don't hear
I ain't
you.
feeling that.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm,
know, I'm
Yeah.
hurting. I'm missing some stuff.
Yeah.
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 The
Go
cancer
ahead.
environment, when I was amazed at myself as being in ministry. And even when I was a full-time pastor prior to coming to Greensboro, I was used to going to nursing homes, hospitals when people were, maybe about to expire, but I
Mm-hmm,
still never had much experience with cancer.
Yeah,
So that's a whole nother world. And
it
you
is.
realize as a man that you've been going to Cone Hospital, visiting people, praying for people on emergency, but you weren't in contact with the cancer ward. That you're in the shadow of it. It's right there. And when you have to walk with someone that's going through cancer, you're open to a whole new world. You didn't realize those people going to those appointments by themselves. I gave a lady a ride one day. Jill was done with her chemo, long gone from her chemo treatment, and there was a woman in the heat of summer
mm,
walking to catch a bus, and she had just gone through her treatment and
Oh
she
wow.
was struggling, and I
Wow.
pulled over and I said, I am going to take you wherever you're going because I don't think you're going to make it. There's so many people who don't have a caregiver.
Right.
mm-hmm.
There are older people that go to treatment by themselves or through a
Mhm.
Uber ride or something, or somebody leaves them there for their whole treatment and they're standing on their own strength waiting for a ride afterwards. So that's not even speaking of helping the children in the church,
Yeah,
right there at the hospitals.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Well, Jill Berry says Kids Path is a program for kids whose parents may be going through cancer or a serious illness. It's not faith based, but I really think any organization that can help kids get through what they're going through, and sometimes they don't even realize what they're going through until later on. Like, I
Right.
didn't even realize it was that serious.
Right.
Or I realized it when I seen mommy's hair falling out, or I realized it when daddy was gone for 5 days getting radiation in another city, right? So that caregiving piece, and that leads me to you, Michael. The caregiving piece of caring for your wife, and then knowing that your wife was going to have that healing on the other side. That experience for you has now shaped what you're doing. You still volunteer.
Right.
You still give back. You still meet Jeanette at CVS to have y'all chat. Y'all don't know, Jeanette Gregory was the one that introduced me to him, and she has an organization, Celebrate Life '08, just for that reason. But tell me what your give back is now with being a caregiver, going through losing your wife to cancer, and now moving forward.
I still do what I've always done: talk to people about it. A friend of mine that saw the podcast and the live stream, I talked to him over the weekend. He asked me a question about when I said I was built for this. So I shared with him why, part of the reason why I said that. And if y'all just allow me 5 minutes, I want to share this with you. The week of my wife's passing, and even when I think about it to this day, it just tells me her faith and her strength was just incredible. The week of her passing, and I want y'all to try to visualize this for a second. So we're sitting on a sofa in the house, and she's sitting to the right of me. My granddaughter's sitting diagonally from me, and my niece is sitting on the other side of me. And my sister-in-law's upstairs, and my brother-in-law's outside. So my wife is leaning forward, and all of a sudden she raises her head. And this is a verbatim conversation, y'all. She looks at me, she says, "Honey, you need to call hospice because I'm ready to go home." My response was, "Do what?" She said, "You need to call hospice because I'm ready to go home." I said, "Wait." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because I need to call the kids and pastor first." She said, "Okay." She puts her head down. Okay. Call, everybody comes to the house. The pastor gets to the house. Pastor prays over the family, prays over her. And when I say this part, it still makes me smile to this day. After the amen part, you hear her little voice, probably about 4 or 5 seconds later, say, "Amen." Okay. That was on a Friday. Okay. My pastor and I go outside, and he says, "Brother Michael, it's between her and God now." So, me, the way I was thinking, maybe Friday night, Saturday, the latest Sunday, Rose hung all the way around to the following Thursday. Okay. Thursday night, Friday morning. That Thursday night, she had kind of a bad episode in a way. She started to swell. Okay. The nurse on duty, she gets there. She sees the swelling. She calls the doctor. They gave her morphine and lorazepam to bring her down. But the whole time she's going through this, I'm behind her, stroke on her back like I always do. "Come on, honey. It's me and you. It's me and you. Stay with me. It's me and you. Stay with me." Brought her down, and everything was good. And as I said in the podcast, for those that are not aware, the tumors had spread to her lungs and heart, so her breathing was difficult. So she had to lean forward to breathe, and you literally had to sit behind her. I'm sitting behind her, and when she passed, I tell everybody this is pretty much to me what happened. I turned my head to the left, and I came back. She was gone. Okay. I say, when I tell that part of the story, I say, God said, "Listen, I've got to do something right now, and I need to move you out of the way." Because she had DNR, which means do not resuscitate, on her paperwork. Knowing me, I probably would have jumped in and tried to save her. But I feel that moment defined a lot for me. It defined that I had a strength that I did not know watching her go through that. It also said to me, "You know what? Once you come through this and come out on the other side of this, she's going to need to share this because not a whole lot of people get to experience that or see that or hear that." And so that's what I've done ever since. And again, it's still a life-changing moment right now. It's when I talk about it, I just stand back and go, "Man, really? I did not expect that." And here I am, 61. It'll be 6 years in May of this year that she's been gone. And to me, it happened like it was just yesterday because I can still account for everything that transpired. And I'm pretty sure that you gentlemen in your situations, that everything that has taken place from the beginning up until now, you probably can remember that almost verbatim because a lot of people don't have to deal with cancer like we have on the level that we have. They might have a friend, or somebody that they know, but they don't deal with it on an intimate level.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they don't deal with it on an intimate level. So it's hard, as you said earlier, it's hard to talk to people about it because they're like, "What are you talking about?" I don't that doesn't register with me. But us gentlemen, and you, Regina, as well, and everybody else that I know, we can all sit down and have this conversation because we know what it's like. Right. To have either us go through it or a significant other or something like that to go through this. So it's been really interesting. Let's put it that way for me. It's been really, really interesting because the story and then the response and the feedback that I get. As I said, I told a friend of mine the story of the weekend, and he broke down and boo-hoo cried in front of me.
Mm-hmm. But sharing those moments, sharing those glow moments are so important. And I'm
Absolutely.
glad you mentioned I was built for this. I got a comment from a listener that says, I don't understand what he meant. So I'm glad you took that time to share that.
Yeah,
Because
because he
as we're
basically said the same
talking,
thing.
yeah, like I didn't know, what do you mean you're built for this? Nobody's built for this. Who in the heck wants this job?
Right.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I said, I didn't sign up for this job. I didn't
Yeah.
sign up. So it was like, here's your application. I didn't see the application. These are the qualifications. I didn't
And
see that
they
part.
put
Yeah,
other on your
on
job
the other
description,
side,
right?
exactly. So that's why I said I was built for that moment, and I did not realize that I was
Lies
built
it.
for that moment.
Wow.
And I think that all of us are built for moments in our lives. We don't realize it until the moment
When it
comes.
comes, that's
To
right.
that
Right.
moment
We don't realize it
comes.
till the
I,
moment
I
comes. And then
believe
once
that.
that moment comes, you're going, because the question I always get asked is, how did you deal with it? And I said, I did what was in here.
Mm-hmm.
I did what was here. And people always say, well, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do. Yeah, you would. I
Yeah,
said that in the
you
podcast. Yeah, you would. You know exactly what to do. You just can't let other people dictate to you what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You do what's here. If your heart says, here's the analogy I said the other day to a friend of mine. I said, if someone's walking in front of you and they fall, what's your first thing you're going to do?
You're gonna catch
pick
them.
them up.
Exactly, or pick them up. Right. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, so don't tell me you don't know what to do, because you do.
And look what I said. Catch them. You said pick them up, right? We
Exactly.
all have an instinct to do something like that.
Do
So
something.
when we talk about caregiver, Pastor Barber, now your wife was a caregiver to you.
Mhm.
One of the things that people talked about was your honesty about going to get checked. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about going and making sure that you followed up with your cancer diagnosis.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's always important for men to go to just go to the doctor. Man, go to the doctor. Just go to the doctor. I mean, come on, man. Just go to the doctor and get your annual checkup. That's the first thing. If you do that, then that will eliminate a lot of problems on the far side. It won't be that you're looking at it won't be that you're looking at stage 4 cancer when you could have really been diagnosed early detection, right? Early
Mm-hmm.
detection. So just go and get it. So it was around, I was about 35, I guess, when they recognized that there may have been a problem because my prostate was soft. It wasn't as firm as it should be. And so they gave me medication in order to do whatever it did. Hey, listen, I've never been the one to know all the terminology.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't follow all of that. Give me the pill, let me take it, and I'll do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because let me tell you, I guess maybe it's just my just being naive or something. I'll put it to that, but more so that I just trusted God the whole time. I trusted God. And I go to the doctor, I trust God. I wake up in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, I trust God. I go to bed at night, I trust God. Whatever it is that He's having for me to do, I've just trusted Him. What has happened is my trust level has raised. My trust level has, with Him, I've just trusted Him because I know that He's taking me to this next level. And at each level, there's another level of trust that you have to get acquainted with,
Mm-hmm.
because each level gives you something new. And y'all heard this before. New level, new devil, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you've heard that. So what that, and I don't want to give the devil no praise. It's just understanding that you're going to see some things that you haven't seen. If you're on the first floor of a skyscraper, your view is going to be a whole lot different on the 12th floor. You're going to see you're going to see things at a whole different level. You can see a lot further. You notice a whole lot of other things that you haven't noticed on the first floor. And that's your relationship with God. But anyway, when I was diagnosed and now I'm going through this thing, it's like I'm trusting God here. And it's now as an army retiree, you understand what it's like when you have to go through your exercises, right? When you go through your play war situations, your scenario. And so you don't wait until the war happens to learn what you need to do in case a war breaks out or in case imminent danger breaks out. You're trained for it. Right. This brother said that he was made for this. It's something that's on the inside of him. It's already there, and it may not manifest. You know, you're not walking around. It's like these Avengers. You're not walking around with all your uniforms. But it's in your heart. It's in your heart. It's already you. You are made for this. As you grow and as you spend time, this is my walk. As you grow and you spend time with God, He's placing things in you that you have no idea you're going to need. You listen to the stories of these brothers here and all the people that you have talked to and all the cancer survivors that you know, and even the ones that and I don't want to say lost the battle, but going on to their victory. And they're going on to their victory, and you know what they've been through. Then you've learned from them. You've heard these stories, and so now here you are, and all of this is inside of you, and you can share these moments. You can share these things with other people who are in need of what you have, and that's what makes you the man that you are, or the caregiver that you are. And you know, we learn patience. We learn how to deal with the other side of the individual that's going through, because they don't know how to handle it either. So here you are going through something. They're taking you through something, and so now you're trying to figure this out. It's like you have twins. Nobody wrote the book about your twin.
And me being a twin.
Right.
Yes.
About that part. Here you are. You're a twin. And even though you have twins, it's a whole different story.
Man, I'm apologizing to my parents. Boy.
Right. And so you learn these things as you go. You learn it as you go. And that is the grace and the mercy of God. Every moment is another opportunity to praise God for what He's placed inside of you to deal with this moment. And so I've learned, you know, even through the diagnosis and going through it, that it is a journey. This is a journey, and God is there to take you through it.
Man, well said. Alex Scott says, God give us tools we need to help others who may go through the same thing. And you guys, y'all are my toolbox. Let me tell you, you're going to be like, honey, she's on the phone again. She's asking me to be on again, right? Dr. Barry, I'll call you one day, but I always call Jill, right?
Right.
And by guys being caregivers, going through things, you guys should be taking care of yourself, right?
Right.
Why do you think that men are reluctant to go to the doctor and do those things?
Because they're afraid of the bad news if there's bad news. They don't want to hear that. You know, and that, my thing is, I always say, how are you going to know what you want to know if you don't ask? Right? If there's something going on, your body tells you something is wrong. Okay? So rather than you go to see what's wrong, and I'm speaking because I'm in this field,
Right.
Instead of you going to see what's wrong, you sit there and say, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. 4 or 5 months down the road, what's been bothering you starts to get a little bit worse. Okay, so now you decide to go to the doctor. Now, this has happened because I witnessed it. You come to the doctor, And they run their test and they say, it's not a whole lot that we can do for you at this moment.
Right.
So now you want to get an attitude with the doctor because they're telling you there's nothing that we can do. However, your internal system told you there is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So instead of you acting on the problem because you're worrying about it being either bad news or you don't want to be
Well,
touched or
people always
whatever.
said no news is good news. That's
Right. That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. That's the craziest thing I ever heard of. It's like, okay, so you don't want to get your prostate checked. Okay, that's not the greatest experience in the world for a man, but look at what women go through.
Right.
Look at what women go
You
through.
see what?
For me,
I'm glad.
I'm glad you can check me
If y'all
that
don't
way,
go get that
because
prostate checked,
Right.
let
You
me
have
tell let me tell you, I almost brought in my segment producer on that one. If y'all don't go get that prostate check, I don't know what to tell you.
to me, that's a cakewalk. But
right.
what
Compared.
women go through compared to
Compared.
what women go through, that is a completely different ball game. So I'm in the same realm that you are. Is like I never understood why. You know, most of the women in my family, my wife, my daughters, women, y'all just go to the doctor. Y'all go.
Yeah.
Y'all
Well,
just go.
well, QT says my dad got his diagnosis really late because he refused to go to the doctor until he had a swelling on his neck that was painful. He said doctors only gave him bad news, so he wasn't going.
That's not true.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Well,
well.
well,
Remember,
you're
it's
right
what we
now.
think is happening
Right.
is in our mind. What we think is happening is greater than what's actually happening. Our
Right.
picture may be wrong and may be right. It does
Right.
not matter, especially if we're talking about an older gentleman or we're talking about us, right? What we think is happening. That's why we need to educate. That's why we need to volunteer. That's why we need to give of our time. Jill Berry just said there needs to be men caregiver groups. There does. And organizations, we need a nucleus. It's right here, like she said. You know, different experiences, right? From a caregiver to someone who's gone through. And some of you guys have been caregivers to other people as well. It really takes a lot to do what you guys do. And I really do appreciate everything you guys are continuing to do. Before we get off here, I want you to tell us a little bit about what's going on. Dr. Reverend Barry, what are you doing now? Is it the neighborhood church?
Neighborhood church. We're online. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. We started when the pandemic hit, or we went into lockdown in March. And our neighbors, well, the first Sunday that we realized that no church was having church, one of the neighbors said, "Hey, you're a pastor. Let's have church outside, in the driveway." And I don't know what I was doing, maybe sweeping up something in the driveway. And I laughed, but then they were serious. And so we got started there. And that became the neighborhood church. When it got hot outside or warmer, we moved into inside, and then everybody caught on to Zoom. And so here we are now. We will be setting up a website, and I just realized yesterday that now we have a year's worth of content. And I think, to God be the glory, I haven't been sick to miss a Sunday. And this was not a plan of mine. This came into fruition by God. And I am shocked every Sunday that the numbers are going up for viewership. And so just keep us in your prayers. I just finished my office here
I see.
to get ready to step up to where God has taken us. And this is where I'll do some writing from here. And I'm just so glad to meet the panel tonight and hear their stories. That what I'm
Likewise.
doing is small things compared to what's going on in the kingdom, but that's where we're at.
Oh, well,
Amen.
guys, make sure you check out the neighborhood church. We'll also put it on our site. And I'm looking forward to your wife coming on next Wednesday as well. That's going to be nothing but fun times. Now, Michael, I want to thank you for again for being on those front lines. And now that I know that you are associated with American Cancer Society, I need you to come join Chemo Glow.
I'll
All
come and join
right.
you there. Oh, sure. Absolutely, absolutely,
Do you
absolutely.
have anything you would like to say to our audience real quick before we sign off here after I talk to Pastor
Absolutely,
Barber?
actually, I do because I was listening
Okay.
to one of my favorite songs today
Okay.
By Earth, Wind and Fire. One of their first songs. Keep your head to the sky. Okay. Um, Everybody, just keep your heads to the
To the
sky.
sky. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
And Pastor Barber, you're gonna take us out of here. You used to be a DJ, right?
That's right. That's what I was doing. Yeah, I was DJing during that time. You know.
Right.
Look how we tied that, we bridged that gap right in there, right? That's what we do here. Go ahead and
Absolutely.
close us out
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Listen, we're and I don't know. Okay, let me just say this. Some years ago, I was I was praying, and I won't never forget this. But God was just downloading all of this stuff, and every time I prayed, it'd be new stuff that He would just continue to download. And I just said, I can't take anymore of this stuff. You know, these ideas and the things that I believe that He had me to do. You know, creativity. You know, this just all of this stuff. Um, and I told that to one of when I was actually going through ministers training. I told that to one of my classmates, and she said, "No, no, no, no! Don't say stop. Just say help me to organize what it is that you're having for me to learn and for me to hear." So we are doing a lot. You know, we're doing Feed NC now. That's since the COVID hit, we partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank, our men's ministry, Men of Integrity. We're feeding people here on Murchison Road in the Murchison Road area. But then once the pandemic hit, then we had to stop. And so long story short, we in August of 2020, we partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank, and we've been partners with them. And so we've been feeding all over the different counties in North Carolina, Harnett County, Sampson County, Cumberland County, Hope County, just going out and feeding people as often as we possibly can. I'm the CEO and president of Cruising Against Cancer, and that came as a result of my diagnosis of cancer. Been doing that, and so now I just saw just a minute ago before we started this podcast that they're trying to figure out how to get the cruise industry up and running. So I was like, okay, yeah, okay, get ready to get this back together. And so, of course, with Chemo Glow, I really want to partner with them, you know, with you, Regina, to help people to get on these cruises, because our thing is to raise funds to allow these people, cancer fighters, survivors, and their families to go on these cruises for free. That's our whole thing, is to be able to send them on cruises for free. And since we started doing this, you know, I do my Sunday mornings, Facebook Live and Zoom, the Restoration Place, dot online on Facebook and on Zoom. And then the last thing is that since we've been doing this, and so people can actually hear, let me see, okay, there you go. So people can actually begin to hear from God. And so and so what I would say to your audience tonight, and I'll say the first 10 people that would just send me an email to restorationsplace@gmail.com, I will send them the book.
And guys, I have this book. I had to take the pages out so I wouldn't make a mistake. Let y'all see my thoughts. But I love this, and it was very thoughtful that you sent this to me. Pastor Barber, I want to thank you so much for joining me. There we go, restorationplace@gmail.com. Aren't they on it? I
They are
couldn't do
on it.
this.
You
I
got a great crew.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send them a book. I'm gonna
Yeah.
send them a book too.
They are amazing. It's one of my dearest friends. She comes in. She told me she supported me since the very beginning. I've had support from everyone, and I appreciate them coming on every Wednesday. And then MC Mike came on, and he started doing all our YouTube and all our pop-ups, all these overlays and stuff you're seeing. That's his production.
That's
So
good.
I really thank them for believing in Chemo Glow. And guys, I want to thank you again for joining me, joining our guests. This is actually the highest that we've had our guests. You see the number in the corner, but it's different for everyone from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to YouTube. So I know when I go and I get off of this, I'll always go look at my views. And I'm looking at my views to see how many people we have touched, how many people we have reached, and how many people do I need to continue to touch, reach, and get the word out there about Chemo Glow. So, guys, please remember that the glow doesn't define me. I define the glow. And each one of the individuals on this panel has brought something to my life, and their glow is real. So the glow doesn't define me, guys. I define the glow. Thank you for joining us. See you next Wednesday as we interview Jill Berry. And check out her podcast that will be coming out on Saturday. Check her out. I appreciate it. Peace.